And if y'all will turn up the house lights, I'd really appreciate it because I need my people looking at me. Thank you. Hi, I'm Mary Gordon Spence, and I'm going to use my time here to help you all because that's just the kind of person I am. And I will tell a few stories, but basically it's to save your life. What I have tonight here can actually save your life. I want to tell you about some things that threaten the American way of life. And I want to tell you what you can do to escape these terrible threats. They come from my childhood. I didn't go to no baseball game, but I knew about bad stuff because every day my mother would warn me against some of the dangers in life. And I've sifted through all of that and decided to tell you the 3 things that worried her the most and that I can tell you all how to have a happy life. Forget national security threats. These are the things that really threaten us. Number 1, my mother told me this 1,000 times. Don't ever run with sharp objects. So I brought a ballpoint pen. See this? It doesn't look sharp to you, doesn't look threatening to you, but it is. If you run with a sharp object, like setting the table, have you ever thought of how treacherous that can be? You run with a sharp object and you fall down. What can you do? Yes, thank you. You can poke your eye out. You had the same mama. You know, my grandchildren walk around with popsicles in their mouths, and their mother, even though she's perfect in every other way, she never warns them about this. So if you're carrying it like this, poke your eye out. If you got it in your mouth, you're going to jam that thing down your throat, and then you have to go to the hospital. And in Brownwood, that was the kiss of death. So this was constant. Well, one time when my folks were not home, I took the charm sucker. Do y'all remember those charm suckers? They cost a nickel at the picture show. And we would always take wax paper to the picture show so we could wrap up the charm sucker and bring it home. So Mother and Daddy were gone, and I unwrapped my great charm sucker. I put it in my mouth. Before I did this, I checked to see if the doctor was home across the street and the pharmacist, but I put this sucker in my mouth and ran back and forth down the hall, and nothing happened. And then I took it and held it as close to my eye as possible. See, I used to wonder if you poked your eye out, if it like went this way or this way, because it seemed to me if you poked your eye, it would go in, but they always said poked your eye out. So I held this sucker really close to my eye, and I ran up and down the hall, and nothing happened. I know why, because before I embarked on that, I repeated the 23rd Psalm, and that's what protected me. So, Melinda, could I throw this to you? Number 1, do not run with sharp objects. Number 2, because this is the thing that my mother talked about almost the most. Never pet a stray cat. Do you know what happens if you pet stray cats? You get ringworm. Who said that? How many of you have had ringworm? How did you get it? You petted a stray cat. Thank you. If you did not know about this, it's time you learned. I'm here for you. Don't forget. So one day, my brother was going to go spend the night with Tommy Pollard. He was a guy in town that lived out on the edge of town, and they just had cats everywhere. And my mother said to my brother, "Don't pet a stray cat when you're at Tommy Pollard's house." "Oh, I won't, Mama." He came home, and by Friday night of the next week, that child was covered in ringworm all over his head. Mother said to my brother, "Did you pet a stray cat at Tommy Pollard's house?" And he admitted that he had done it. Now, let's just say a cat came in the Cactus Cafe tonight. I'd say, oh, there's a cat. Does anybody know the name of this cat? If you said no, do not touch it. But if I brought my cat named Torchy Taco in and they said, what's the name of the cat? I said, it's Torchy Taco. You don't get ringworm from cats if you know their names. Only if you don't. So here is my 5-year-old brother with a head full of ringworm. And we tried every product known to personkind to try to get rid of that ringworm. At night, my brother and sister and I prayed. We prayed, please, God, don't let Royito have to wear a white cap. Did you ever see kids with white caps? You did. Because Charles Hicks lived across the alley. He got ringworm, and he had to wear a white cap, and we just prayed that we would not fall to that humiliation. After about 2 weeks with the ringworm solid on his head, my daddy came home one night and decided to take matters into his own hand. He went to his little black Singer sewing machine cabinet, opened it up, took out a needle, then he got a match and struck it on the side, and he held that needle over the flame until it turned boiling red. Boys and girls, that used to be the way we sterilized things, remember? So after the needle had cooled down, he held my brother down and opened every blister on the top of my brother's head with that needle. And then he went into the bathroom and got his favorite product, iodine. And he opened that bottle, and he took that little dunker thing, you know, that little glass thing, and he doused iodine in every open blister on my little brother's head. So I can still hear that child screaming his head off. Daddy was screaming at me, blow, blow. I was blowing, Daddy was screaming, Roy was crying. But in a week, the ringworm was gone. The very next week, our 2 dogs, Cindy and Tiger Lily, came down with ringworm. Daddy didn't go for the needle. He went to the kitchen and got a piece of steel wool. My daddy was from the old country, Eagle Pass. Anybody know Eagle Pass? He scrubbed those dogs, opened those blisters, then he went in and got the iodine. He threw away the dunker, and he poured iodine on the dogs. The neighbors were wondering what was going on because the dogs were screaming. I was trying to blow. Daddy was screaming at me, get away, get away. But within 1 week, their ringworm was gone. Now, I don't know if those dogs learned to say the 23rd Psalm. I don't know if they learned not to pet stray cats, but they learned a lot about my daddy. And the third warning made these other 2s look pale. I grew up in the day where people were afraid of one thing more than anything else. So my mother said to us daily in the summer, which is why I'm using my time to tell you, do not sit around in a wet bathing suit. Because if you sit around in a wet bathing suit, do you know what you're going to get? Pneumonia, honey, was mild compared to this. You are going to get polio. If you didn't know that, I pray for your soul, because here's Franklin Roosevelt. You didn't know that's how he got polio. He sat around in a wet bathing suit. How many of you knew this? This is how he got polio at Warm Springs or wherever he used to vacation in the summer. So it was constant in my house. We had a swimming pool in the backyard, you know, it was blow up. And so we would get in the pool, and Mother would be watching out the back window, and we'd get out. She'd say, are you through with that swimming pool, Mary Gordon? get out of that bathing suit. So we couldn't even get out because the fear of catching polio was so great. Anytime we got sick in the summer, Mother would call the doctor and she'd say, "You don't think they have POLO, do you?" Back then we took polio naps because Mother was so tired. Everything, this was a huge threat. Here's what we figured out. If you are in the swimming pool, you got your bathing suit on and you're wet, you do not get polio. If you're out of the swimming pool and you've got either a dry bathing suit on or some dry clothes, you don't get polio. It's this in-between time from getting out of the swimming pool till you get out of your bathing suit. That's when the polio can get you. Now, I know we have all kinds of vaccines now, but I'll tell you, I never sit around in a wet bathing suit without wondering if I'm going to get polio. So that's what I wanted to use my time to tell you all. Don't run with sharp objects, don't pet stray cats, and for goodness sakes, never sit around in a wet bathing suit. And that I hope you have a fabulous, hot as hell summer in Austin. Thank you.